all my Virgo friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your December 2024 monthly horoscope. These horoscopes are based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about Virgo, I'm referring to Virgo rising and the first house being Virgo. This is also applicable to Virgo sun and Virgo moon. And if you have a stellium in Virgo, this video is applicable to you as well. When I refer to a day and a time, it's based on the Pacific time zone. So please adjust for your location. Okay, so 2024 is going to end with, I think, a bang. We have a Mars retrograde. Mars is currently in Leo, and it's going to retrograde back into Cancer. In Cancer, it is in fall, where it is not comfortable, it's not happy, and it feels very unseen and maybe slightly disrespected. And that Mars is going into a opposition with Pluto in Aquarius. Now, they had this opposition back earlier in 2024, but at that time, Pluto was in Capricorn. So the conversation was a bit different. The conversation was about history, about repression and limitation and obligation. And now the conversation is about innovation and moving the story forward. It's also about where old things keep us tethered to an old story. So this is going to be pretty powerful. This is going to be happening in Cancer for you is your 11th house of hopes and dreams. Leo is your 12th house of the subconscious and what tethers you to unconscious habits and behaviors that you make decisions on, and they feel practical and logical, but they may not actually be on a soul level. And then Aquarius is your 6th house, and that's where Pluto is going to reside for the next 20 years. We see Neptune going direct in Pisces. That is your 7th house of committed partnerships, peace, and harmony and diplomacy. Neptune is going to spend the last couple of months until I think March of 2025 in Pisces, and then it's going to move into Aries, where it has not been since, I believe, 1862, which was the middle of the Civil War in the United States. I'll get those dates more clear, but that's what's in my head. This is significant because as Neptune moves into the last degrees of Pisces and Saturn is currently in Pisces, it's going to give us all an opportunity to anchor in our commitment, connection, and relationship with our soul's divinity within us, our inner voice. And Pisces again is your 7th house. So this is where your peace of mind will come, is that relationship with God and the angels. We will see we have a full moon in Gemini on the 15th of December. I'll do a separate video for that. And the same day, Mercury will go direct in Sagittarius. And Mercury and Jupiter are in a constant or in a conversation, an oppositional conversation for most of the month. But it tightens around the Great Attractor, which is a very interesting opportunity as we stand in awareness, especially since Mercury rules Virgo and rules your chart. We will see Saturn and Jupiter experience their second retrograde. This time Jupiter's retrograde. I'm sorry, their second square. This time Jupiter's retrograde and Saturn's direct. Back in August, they squared each other, but at that time, Saturn was retrograde and Jupiter was direct. So we're going to visit some themes there, which are, I think, rather interesting. So let me pull up the chart and let's look at the month. All right. So I've been playing around with the time so I could figure out how to start the month on your particular rising sign. So here we see Virgo, first house. Okay. So the activity seems to be taking place quite a bit up here in we've got Mercury, your ruling planet in the 4th house that rules your home. It rules your family experience, the country with which you are born. Mercury is retrograding, and we see it as in an opposition to Jupiter retrograding in your 10th house. This is where the rulers of each planet are in the absolute opposite sign. They're in detriment. So Mercury is in detriment in Sagittarius, being the furthest away from its home, and Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, in the furthest place from its home. Jupiter wants to see the big ideas, but it's got to get down into the valley of everyday life. And here we're looking at your public reputation and how people perceive you and how you are seen in a way that requires you to be, how can I phrase this? You know, Gemini is it's the journalist, it's the person that delivers information. And so as Jupiter is expanding in its detriment, it's expanding and exasperating how large pieces of information leave out important details in everyday life. Now we see that your ruling planet here in the fourth house of home is being tasked to see a broader picture, to not so much be concerned with everyday details, but rather to review how those everyday details could be interrupting the experience of expansion for you. Now, we also see that Mercury is going to retrograde over 14 degrees of Sagittarius, which is the great attractor. This is a powerful point in the Shapley cluster, where as we focus our thoughts, we can attract the things that we need into our experience, the money that we need, the people that we need, the situations that we need. Sometimes humans call it good luck, but here you will learn that it is not good luck. It's the harnessing of your thoughts. And this opposition actually serves new perceptions and perspectives. I think it's pretty powerful. Yes, we see that Saturn is in a loose square here to Mercury, and it's in a loose square, but that's going to come up later in the month more powerfully. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Where do I want to go? Okay, let's go now to the 6th. And this is where we see Mars's retrograde. Now, as Mars retrogrades, I can't emphasize enough how Mars enjoys the Leo energy, even in a retrograde. So Mars is going to be thinking about itself, about what it wants, about, how to express itself. But at the same time, the opposition to now Venus, who has moved into Aquarius conjunct Pluto, is going to challenge Mars about his self-worth and about how Mars is asserting itself in your life experience. So Leo is the 12th house for you, and Aquarius is that 6th house. So somewhere it's coming up about some sort of mental enslavement of your self-expression, of your enjoyment potentially. And Venus ruling your self-worth and your money could very much have you as a Virgo saying, I need to do work, I need to be of service. That's how I roll. And yet it's not serving the larger picture of you being of service to others. So this is going to grow in intensity, this opposition. Venus will move out. I mean, she'll have another moment more exact with Mars, but she's going to move away from Pluto, and Pluto and Mars is really the starring act here in this opposition. And it's going to be pretty intense because it's going to dig into emotions. And when it moves into Cancer, which is your 11th house, it's going to start to hit those hopes and dreams that you want for your family, for yourself, for your sense of feeling loved and nurtured. And sometimes when you're a strong earth sign and you're a sign that's of service, as you are, your needs get muddled out in comparison to the many. And maybe that's not the right perspective. Maybe that's actually been undermining the results a little bit. Okay, so Mars is going to retrograde until February 23rd, 2025, and it'll retrograde back to 17 degrees of Cancer. Again, that's in your 11th house. So you could see a lot of things happening in with your friendship groups, revisiting some things, and you could find yourself willing to release any energies with friends or networks that don't serve your peace of mind. On the 7th, Neptune goes direct. Now, I think that this is an important thing to pay attention to, because Neptune is in its rulership, and Neptune is super slow moving. Neptune is spiritual. Neptune is watery, and water is powerful. We have no control as humans over the tides of the ocean. So here, I think you could experience a real strong pull to feel that sense of, and I'm saying this because of this conjunction to the North Node, a real transformation of self. You could be really wanting to feel that skip over from the working part of it. Virgos are very mental, processing, analyzing, strategizing. And the peace of mind comes from the trusting of the analyzing, that I don't need to overanalyze. And this could be very much what you're stretching for. And as Saturn moves forward, there's going to be a huge conjunction as the North Node moves into Pisces. Neptune will move into Aries for a minute in March, and I say minute kind of cheeky, and then it will move back. And these 3 points, the Saturn, Neptune, and the North Node, will all meet in Pisces in your seventh house of partnerships. So I think it's important to really pay attention to the square that Saturn is starting to form with Jupiter, and also loosely with Mercury, and creating sustainable relationships. Making sure you get all the information, and when you get the information, to trust the intuitive part of you that might think you didn't ask the right question, or maybe there's something else. I don't know. It's going to be up to you to trust whatever the intuitive body that comes in that tasks you with creating a more strong relationship with your inner voice and your soul. Okay, so this is just the 7th. We haven't even gotten to the end of the week yet. Let's look at the 11th. The 11th is going to be an interesting day for Mars and Venus, as they are in an exact opposition here in the house of your subconscious. Mars, subconscious anger, resentment, things that didn't get done, and then Venus here in your self-worth of the 6th house. This could very much have you thinking, Virgo, like, do people see my uniqueness? Do they see my genius? Do they see, my ideas for the future, for my own future? Because I do feel on some level that Virgo tends to be focused on the outside or on what it's building. The earth signs need to see their material structures, like their intentions need to manifest, or they're not fulfilled, especially if it's a moon sign. So here, this is a real tasking, because we're at 5 degrees right now. That's the Leo degree of self-expression. It's also joy and fun. So I think that that's important to pay attention to. And Mercury, your ruling planet, is starting to station. It's going to go back to 6 degrees, and then in a couple of days, it's going to move forward. So it's starting to anchor in the sky. And I think that's important because it's actually making a trine over here to Mars. So as you allow yourself to kind of be brave about how you think about your childhood, allow your beliefs to evolve. Oftentimes humans will tell people, let it go, let it go. And I've come up to this with this idea of let it grow, let it grow. And here, this is exactly what Mercury gets to do in the sign of Sagittarius. Let it grow, because it will favor more bounty materially, and you could be much more receptive, meaning more receptive to the universe actually bringing the things that you need and fretting less. You kind of have this epiphany that all the worry that you go through is actually undermining your results, because as Mercury moves forward, it's going to go over the great attractor at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. And again, it'll make an opposition to Jupiter, but that's okay, because that opposition is some sort of balance. Having the ruling planets in their opposite sign in detriment at the same time is really an opportunity for new perceptions and new perspectives. And having your ruling planet in that conversation puts the spotlight on you and your perceptions and how you're starting to evolve through that, or as a result of that. We can see right now that Jupiter is starting, we're going to start to feel that square to Saturn. Now let's go over to the 15th. There'll be a full moon in Gemini. I'll do a separate video on that, but we're seeing Mercury go direct on the 15th. We see that there's Jupiter retrograding, and there's Saturn. So that's again in your 10th and your 7th houses. So you're going to start to feel this push pull, because the 10th house, we don't often think of that as a house of partnership, but it is a house of status. So there's a status change, and there could be a status change potentially of your expansion of how you're seen in the neighborhood, how you're seen in your community. Jupiter is a leader, even in Gemini. But Saturn is tasking you again to create sustainable results. Don't allow, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Saturn is going to task Jupiter not to be overly ambitious or overly expansive during a retrograde, because whatever results are could potentially be seen very much in your public eye in the community. I don't think it's negative in any way, because I think having a 7th house Pisces, being careful of it being too watery. You want to make sure you have clear sight, but the clear sight doesn't come from your eyes. It comes from your intuition. And sometimes having a first house that's earthbound, it will argue with your intuition, but that's the beauty and the balance of that access. Okay, let's go to the 19th. On the 19th, we're going to see a trine between Jupiter and Venus. And this is lovely, even with Jupiter in retrograde, because to me, it just supports more and more this feeling of Virgo being able to start to feel their self-worth and their ability to receive that which they need. And I do think that Jupiter is giving you an opportunity to review your beliefs, maybe some of your smaller minded beliefs. Again, those more mercurial beliefs that if I don't do this, it won't get done. I can't help but I think of some people who I know are a little bit on the more Virgonian side. On their days off, they get all their chores done before they allow themselves any pleasure. And sometimes there could be a little more balance there, at least for you. Whatever brings you joy, I should say. Okay, this dynamic between Venus and Jupiter, the trine, will be felt until about the 22nd. So I also want to caution you about not that Virgo's an overspending, but you could be over concerned about money for some reason. I don't know why I want to say that. Jupiter and Venus both rule money. So there may be just a tad bit of something going on there. And I say that because of Saturn's influence on Jupiter. It's kind of like I want to go all out at Christmas, but Saturn's saying, well, maybe you should wait a little bit. I don't know. You'll have to make that personal decision for yourself. Okay. The sun will move into Capricorn on the 21st, and on the 24th, we'll see the exact square between Jupiter and Saturn. So let's jump over there. And this is nice because, well, I don't mean it's nice, but it's not quite the time yet. I'm a little bit off. There's 58 minutes here, so we're off by a couple of minutes. But I want to say this. The idea that the square is also having a conversation with Mercury. And again, we're revisiting the themes of creating something sustainable. The focal point of a T-square is Saturn right here. And this opposition is very tight, and Mercury is almost exact. He's within 2 degrees of the the great attractor. This is so incredibly powerful. This is some kind of integration of your personal history, your obligations, your limitations, how you've been building something, looking at it through as clear eyes as you possibly can. But those clear eyes are really through the heart of the 7th house of Pisces, and then allowing the opposition from Jupiter and Mercury to give you new perspective, to be willing to walk to the other side of the room and look at something differently. And you'll see a whole different perspective. So I think this is really, really powerful for you. And this is all happening on literally like Christmas Eve. Some of us celebrate Christmas. So there could be something that comes up about family situations for you, Virgo, having Mercury retrograde in the house of family and home, and then Gemini ruling our siblings and our neighborhood. So you could be revisiting some things that have to do with themes from your childhood, and you get to let them grow, literally let them grow. Because Saturn wants things to grow. He wants to build. He also, he's the planet of expansion. I mean, of restriction, but in many ways, he's the planet of expansion delayed because he rules the crops and the agriculture. I know we give that to Taurus, but Saturn ruled the golden age. So Saturn really had dominion over all of it, while Taurus and Virgo are sort of supporting roles to that Saturnian energy. Okay, let's go to Christmas Day, where we see where's my cursor? Christmas Day, this Mercury and Jupiter is exact. So, to me, this could be a day, don't talk politics with your family during Christmas or something silly like that. We also have Venus making a square to Uranus. Uranus is in your ninth house. So let me show you that real quick, because these two things play out together somehow to me. Here you could potentially be having new ideas and new thoughts about things, or you could be having revelations about your childhood, your family, and demonstrating new beliefs, and your family sort of not. Somehow there's resistance from the outside. That's the way I kind of want to put it. And Saturn does rule history. So, and if you are creating some wealth for yourself, or you're creating something, Jupiter also rules business and commerce. I kind of think, keep your innovative ideas to yourself so that you can be surprising and allow for that, because you do have Uranus hovering over the midheaven here. You have to check your personal natal chart in Placidus to know exactly where your midheaven is, but through the internet, through unexpected things, you could truly be liberated and make money in ways other people don't think is possible. Okay. Now, okay. Let's go now to the last day of the month. This is getting a little long. Here we see the exact opposition between Pluto and Mars. And Mars is just about to go back into its fall. And it is making aspects to the karmic nodes and Neptune. So Virgo, I just want to round this out because you have a real opportunity to recognize some sort of resentment, anger, frustrations about your own personal self-expression and pleasure, and liberate yourself from it. And Pluto is going to be sitting, in these early degrees of your sixth house for quite some time. It's going to retrograde, go up to 3 degrees, retrograde back to 0. And I think that's important because I think that is reworking the enslavement of your sixth house, the house you naturally rule. So you're having a real opportunity to see yourself move into the future with your heart as the guiding light. Okay. All right, my Virgos. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Kwanzaa, happy Boxing Day, happy, if you don't believe in anything, enjoy the month. Happy astrologers, fun with all these crazy transits. Please like, please subscribe, please share. I'm available. I don't take holidays. I just love to work. I love my job. So I'm available for readings. And be sure to hit that notification bell so you know when more content comes out. Bye, Virgo. I'll see you in 2025. Have a great end of the year.